The episode kicks off with a man jogging through the park when he spots two kids spraying graffiti on a trailer van. He warns them to stop, and they quickly scatter. Curious, he tries to alert the trailer's owner, only to discover a man inside, seated upright and already dead from a gunshot wound. 1 week later, Morgan, having lost a bet to Ava, is stuck with a yes day, meaning she has to agree to all of Ava's requests. One of Ava's choices? Visiting Morgan's workplace at the LAPD. But things take a dangerous turn at the station. Lieutenant Mellon steps into the elevator with a young woman named Brooke Kirkman, who suddenly grabs his gun and takes him hostage. Armed with a detonator, she warns that if anyone resists, she'll blow up the entire precinct. Brooke quickly corrals everyone into the bullpen. When an officer tries to resist, Jeremy Davis, a former military sergeant who had been at the station earlier, knocks him out and orders everyone to comply. Meanwhile, Ava, still in the restroom, has no idea that the precinct is under siege. To isolate their hostages, Brooke and Jeremy force Daphne to call in a bomb threat and evacuate the rest of the building. The two finally reveal their motive. Their friend, Sergeant Logan Hansen, was wrongfully convicted of murdering Frank Weber, a retired master sergeant and RV teacher. They demand the police find the real killer, or everyone in the room will pay the price. Welcome back to Sandy's Timeline. Today we're breaking down High Potential Episode 7. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share so you never miss the next episode. Let's dive in. Inside the precinct, Morgan, Daphne, Mellon, and the others remain trapped, while outside, Karadak, Selena, and Oz coordinate with SWAT. Since the intruders signed in under their real names, Selena quickly pulls up their files through Army CID. Team learns they are dealing with two staff sergeants who once served together in the U.S. Army, with Davis recently transferred to the National Guard. Both are highly trained, and to make matters worse, they've destroyed the bullpen's surveillance system, leaving the police blind to what's happening inside. Negotiation attempts fail until a call finally comes through from Mellon's phone. Under gunpoint, Mellon is forced to read a statement declaring Sergeant Logan's innocence, warning that unless his name is cleared, everyone in the bullpen will die. Armed with this new information, Selena decides to escalate and calls for Detective Lovely, the officer originally assigned to Logan's case, to be brought in. Detective Lovely lays out the original case. The victim, 62-year-old Francis Weber, was a retired master sergeant who had returned as a contractor to teach at the Joint Forces training base in Los Alamitos. Weber was found dead the previous week after a jogger noticed his RV parked in Palos Verdes with its door kicked in. He had been shot in the chest with his own gun, which was later recovered in a trash can less than a mile away. Although the killer tried to wipe the weapon clean, investigators lifted strong partial prints from the barrel, matching Sergeant Logan Hansen. They also found traces of acetone, a chemical Logan had been using in his home renovation projects. The bullet trajectory report indicated a shooter between 6 feet and 6'1" in height, exactly Logan's build. Adding to the suspicion, witnesses placed Logan and Weber together at a Long Beach bar the night before the murder, where the bartender recalled clear tension between them. Logan's alibi came from his girlfriend, Brooke, but investigators dismissed it, knowing partners often lie to protect loved ones. Lovely explained Logan's supposed motive. He had recently been offered a prestigious overseas posting, which he declined. Logan himself provided an explanation for the fingerprints. He told investigators that the day before the murder, he and Frank had gone to a shooting range together, and Frank had allowed him to use his gun. That, Logan claimed, explained why his prints were on the weapon. But with no solid alibi and the prints on the gun, Logan is left as the prime suspect for the crime. While reviewing the case board, Mellon doesn't notice anything out of place, but Morgan does. She spots an odd blood pattern inside Frank's RV. The splatter forms a sharp corner, suggesting that a piece of paper or object had been moved after the crime. Suspecting it might be important, she calls Koretic and asks him to search the RV at the impound. Koretic discovers that the last document Frank printed was a DD Form 458, a military form used in dishonorable discharge proceedings. When confronted, Brooke insists it couldn't have been Logan, reminding them that he had been a model soldier in every way. With few other leads, the team brings in Lauren, Frank's daughter. She who explains that her father always protected his soldiers and took his duty seriously. Still, she shares a crucial detail. Frank never missed their weekly Monday dinners, until last week when he canceled without explanation, saying only that he had something important to do. Following up, Morgan checks Frank's phone records and uncovers two addresses. The first is Pershing Square, an area notorious for drugs and prostitution, which Lauren insists her father would never be involved in. But the second address, 1487 North Eastman Avenue, turns out to be a private detox center in Boyle Heights. Morgan also finds that Frank's last outgoing call was to his daughter, Lauren. However, the call never connected. Lauren explains that she always switches her phone off at night while she sleeps. As Morgan reviews the case, something strikes her. There were no phone calls or messages directing Frank downtown on Monday night. If no one had told him to meet or help someone, why would he have gone there on his own? Digging deeper, she discovers that Frank had recently purchased a luggage locator tag. Since there were no signs he planned to travel, Morgan theorizes he must have been using it to track someone. Her theory, Frank suspected one of the soldiers he cared about had relapsed into drug use. To check, he planted the tracker on that soldier during their last encounter, then drove downtown to retrieve him. The tag, however, ended up back on Frank's RV at the time of his death. Tracing it leads the team to Ben Spolstra, a member of the Army Reserve currently on temporary duty at the Joint Forces Base in Los Alamitos, where Frank had taught. Ben is tracked down and arrested. Back inside the precinct, the tension spikes when Jeremy threatens to detonate a bomb, but Morgan calls his bluff. She explains that U.S. law requires detectable tag-ins in all plastic explosives, chemicals that security dogs at the station would have picked up. Since the dogs didn't react, she concludes Brooke never had a real bomb. With Ben's arrest, the truth comes out. Logan was falsely accused, Brooke and Jeremy's motives collapse, and the hostage standoff comes to an end. Logan is cleared and freed, while Brooke and Jeremy are taken into custody. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Sandy's Timeline so you won't miss the next episode recap. Hit the notification bell to stay updated the moment new content drops. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.